You're not imagining it. That weird comment, that smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, that feeling you get after hanging out with them where nothing bad happened, but you feel smaller anyway. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The people who secretly dislike you are almost never obvious. They don't insult you. They don't attack you. They don't leave. They stay close. And that's what makes them dangerous. Let me drop you into a moment. You share good news, a promotion, a new relationship, a personal win you worked hard for. They say, wow, that's great. But there's a pause, a microsecond too long. Their tone is flat, curious, almost clinical. Later that night, you replay it. You feel silly for overthinking, so you ignore it. Most people do. And that's how fake friendships survive. This matters now more than ever because adult friendships don't come with obvious rules. There's no playground drama, no clear villains, just subtle power games, social positioning, and emotional accounting. And psychology has been studying this for decades, not under the term fake friends, but under things like covert competition, passive aggression, and relational ambivalence. Here's the core idea, explained simply. A fake friend doesn't want you to fail. They want you to fail relative to them. They're fine with you doing well, as long as you don't do better. That's the system. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's break this down through a story. Imagine two friends. Same age, same field, same social circle. For years, everything feels equal. You grow together, you complain together, you bond over shared struggle. Then one thing changes. You start pulling ahead. Not dramatically, just enough. This is where the shift happens. Psychologists call this status threat. When someone close to you experiences your growth as a threat to their identity. Because friendship isn't just emotional, it's comparative. We silently track who's winning, who's ahead, who's falling behind. Most people don't like admitting this, but studies show that envy is strongest not toward strangers, but toward people similar to us. Same background, same starting line, different outcomes. That's when warmth cools. Not instantly, gradually, and fake friendship begins. The first sign is not cruelty, it's calibration. They start adjusting how they treat you. They praise you, but vaguely. They joke about your success. They frame your wins as luck, timing, or external help. Oh, you got promoted? Makes sense. You were always good at talking to bosses. Not your skill, not your effort. Something dismissible. This is psychological downplaying, a defense mechanism. Because acknowledging your growth would force them to confront their stagnation. Here's the irony. They often don't even realize they're doing it. Fake friends rarely think, I hate you. They think, something about you makes me uncomfortable. So they manage that discomfort quietly. Next comes the second sign. Support that disappears when it matters. They're there for your problems. They show up when you're struggling. They love being the advisor, the helper, the stable one. But when you don't need saving anymore, when you're confident, when you're excited, they withdraw. Not dramatically, subtly. They miss celebrations. They forget milestones. They change the subject when you're proud. This isn't coincidence. It's loss of role. You outgrew the version of yourself that made them feel secure. Now the balance is off, and humans hate imbalance. There's a study from the University of Groningen that found people experience less happiness for a friend's success if it threatens their own self-evaluation, especially when the friend is close. Translation: the closer you are, the harder it is to clap honestly. So fake friends adapt. They stay close enough to monitor, far enough to protect their ego. Which brings us to the third sign, passive sabotage. This is where things get uncomfortable. They don't sabotage you openly, they sabotage conditions around you. They give advice that subtly limits you. They plant doubt disguised as concern. They highlight risks when you're about to leap. Are you sure you're ready for that? Just don't get your hopes too high. I heard that path is really unstable. Notice the pattern. They're not wrong, they're just never encouraging. It's realism without belief. And over time, that voice seeps into your head. You start second guessing, hesitating, shrinking your ambition to fit the room. That's not friendship. That's emotional gravity. Here's the hidden mechanism underneath all of this. Fake friends operate on comparison, not connection. Real friends want shared elevation. Fake friends want maintained hierarchy. They don't want distance. They want control. Control of narrative. Control of dynamics. Control of who shines when. That's why they often react weirdly when you change. New habits, new boundaries, new confidence. You're no longer predictable. And unpredictability threatens unspoken agreements. Now let's talk about something people rarely say out loud. Sometimes fake friends are created accidentally. You change faster than the relationship can adapt. Your identity shifts. Your values sharpen. Your tolerance for nonsense drops. And instead of addressing the gap honestly, both sides pretend nothing changed. That's where resentment grows. Silently, politely, with inside jokes and old memories masking new distance. This is where the hype versus reality contrast hits. We're told, loyal friends stay forever. Real ones never change. Cutting people off is toxic. Reality is colder. Most friendships are seasonal, context-based, built around who you were, not who you're becoming. When the context disappears, some people adjust. Others cling. And clinging turns into quiet hostility. So what are the risks if you ignore this? You start editing yourself, downplaying wins, avoiding sharing good news, keeping yourself small to preserve peace. That costs you momentum. Worse, it distorts your self-trust. You feel guilty for growing, for wanting more, for leaving the old version of you behind. That guilt doesn't come from you, it's absorbed. Fake friendships don't explode, they erode. Slowly, politely, with smiles. The most dangerous part, they feel safe, familiar, history-filled, which makes them harder to question. Here's a simple filter that cuts through all the psychology. Watch how they react when you succeed without them. You change your mind. You set a boundary. You no longer need approval. Do they get curious or defensive? Do they adapt or diminish? Do they feel proud or uncomfortable? You don't need confrontation. You don't need drama. You just need observation. Because clarity doesn't come from asking, do they like me? It comes from asking, do I feel supported becoming more myself around them? One last thought before we end. Some people are meant to walk with you. Some are meant to watch. And some are only meant to meet the version of you that no longer exists. The hardest part isn't spotting fake friends. It's accepting that outgrowing someone doesn't make you cruel. It makes you honest. So here's the question to sit with. Who in your life benefits most from you staying exactly the same? And what would happen if you didn't?